Welcome to the Social Chameleon Show, where our mission is to help you learn, grow, and transform on your path to become legendary. Today, my guest has a truly unique perspective on what it takes to succeed in business and life. Neil Rogers is a VP of Sales at Rogers Marketing, co-founder of Positive Activity, and author of Bar Tips, Everything I Need to Know in Sales I Learned Behind the Bar. With over 37 years of experience leading marketing and sales campaigns, Neil's mastered the art of blending time-tested principles with modern strategies. His journey began behind the bar in Boston, where he learned the power of hospitality, listening, and consistency. Today, those same principles drive his mission of spreading rational optimism through Positive Activity, a framework built on positive, creative, and consistent habits that help people reach their goals one step at a time. If you're ready to discover how optimism and simplicity can help you overcome obstacles, grow your business, and transform your mindset, this episode will give you practical inspiration on your path to become legendary. Like I say here, these little things will get you into the top 1 in 10%. We talk a lot about that. Without further ado, let's talk to Neil. Neil, welcome to Social Chameleon Show.
Tyson, so glad to be here with you. It's fantastic.
Thank you. I've been looking forward to this. You have an interesting background. I guess to start off here, you did recently write a book, Bar Tips, Everything I Needed to Know in Sales I Learned Behind the Bar. If you guys are interested in the book, I'll leave it in the show notes. You guys can go ahead and get that and dig through it all. But I want to ask you, what's one story you'd like to highlight from that book?
Oh, we're going to get right into it. Marvelous. Well, I think that if through this little back and forth you and I have today, if you're a reader or listeners, listen to only one thing, it's this one. And that is, whenever anything goes wrong, start with yourself.
100%.
Yeah. What was my role in this? How could I have done better? This actually came from when I sold food for a distributor. And this guy, Jim Gallahue, was kind of one of the guys in the tops of the trees. You know, you're the young guy, you're following him around. What can I do for you? You know, can I carry your water? Can I, whatever it is. And I did that. And, covered his vacations when he was on, covered his route when he's on vacations. So, and, he'd give me little tidbits and this, that, and then a lot of it was just observing, doing by observing, right? So just how cool he was, what a wise guy he was outside, but you got him in front of a customer, he transformed, right? He knew his products, he knew all the codes. This guy, we had 200,000 items. A lot of them are common, right? So as an example, 14-ounce bottle ketchup was 028092. Now that's 38 years ago, right? So it's one of those things, right? So anyways, but he said to me one time, he put it just as I just gave it to you and your gang. It was, if anything goes wrong, and he did this, he pointed to himself. He said, start here. Did I key it in right? Did before I lash out at the customer service person or the guy who picks in the warehouse or the truck driver, could I have done better? And then also keep it aside, whatever the issue is, let's not air our dirty laundry with the customer. They don't want to hear that. How are you going to solve the problem? So just solve it. And if nobody gets thrown under the bus, all the better. If you got to take a bullet, take a bullet. And the bar story that goes on this, because this is out of Bar Tips, is this guy Dennis Mayer. I was working in a place called Tia's in Boston, and Dennis was just like way too smart to be working with us. It's like, dude, what are you doing here? I'm struggling to get out of college and do something. And this guy, so a woman came up to the bar and ordered a vodka martini, straight up, extra dry. Okay. Dennis ice downs the glass, ice downs the up glass, puts it on the bar, pours the drink, empties out the ice out of the up glass. She's now got a nice chill glass. He pours the drink in there, puts in a lemon twist in. She takes a sip of it. That's not dry enough. Okay. So Dennis comes walking by me and he goes, I've been doing this for 15 years. I haven't put a drop of vermouth in the martini yet, which makes it not dry.
Okay.
They just dry. Extra dry means booze, vodka, done, right? So what Dennis did was he did the same routine, but kind of did it in front of her.
Mm-hmm.
And so not like in her face, but, so she could see. Same routine, same everything, different result. That's the one. So what did we learn here? Right? He could have told her the same story he told me, right? Oh, wait a second, lady. I haven't put a drop of vermouth in a martini. You can hear it, right? So now what happens? They're into it. The crowd knows because maybe she raises her voice. Maybe she walks out. Who knows? He solves the problem, took ownership of it, even though it wasn't his fault, and everybody moved on. And you know what? He didn't throw out that booze. He probably put it in the vodka tonic later.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody lost a thing. So that's kind of like it's usually my last act in these things. But you asked for it up front, you got it.
That's perfect. I completely agree with you there. However, I know with myself, and I know others as well, especially when you're younger, that's a hard concept to take, right? Was there something he taught you, or he showed you that said, listen, I know maybe your ego or something's gonna this is not gonna fit well, but this is the right thing to do?
I saw it in practice.
Okay.
And then I did it. And then I did it again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's great in your personal life. Okay, hon, sorry. I should have finished the dishes last night. Let me get those done now, and let's move on. Whatever it is, don't go, wait a second, lady. Why didn't you do them last night? How does that fly? Right. All right. So, and, I'm a flawed man. The reason I wrote the book was so I remind myself of these things. The reason why I have these conversations with guys like you is to be reminded of it. I'm sure half the people out there listening going, I've heard that before, but you know what? I got to remember that. Sure. Why shouldn't I? Why shouldn't I show some humility? Well, I'm not perfect. This is one of the great line that we put in the book. Being right, it's overrated. Do you ever feel good when you win an argument? I never really feel good.
Yeah.
Especially if it's contentious, ever. Some days I'm pretty good at it, so I feel like I won, but I still don't feel good. I actually have one today as reference. Well, your audience doesn't know the story because we said it offline, but I was dealing with Medicaid as far as my son was concerned because he's special needs. And the process was unreal. You call, if you get disconnected, you're done. You call again, you start all over. They don't take your name. They don't ask you if we get cut off. Remember, we probably hear that every once in a while. No, it's a good number to call. They can't call you back. They can't forward you on to anybody.
Wow.
So we got everything straightened out. So this is kind of the point I'm making on the if none of it makes you feel good. I called them back today and I tried to get the complaint line just to say, and not just, I don't want it to go up. I don't want to get anybody in trouble. I don't want to get anybody fired. But guys, it's 2025. You're making me fax in our Guardian papers. And by the way, you only put my wife on there. You don't put me on there. So now when you're talking to me, you can't talk to me. But you know what? I gave all that. I'm going to tell you, Tyson, I didn't feel good. Mm-hmm. Didn't do me any better. It would have been better if I just passed on it and just moved along. Because you're going to change that ship. So that just shows, I think, that it works in life in general. I mean, that's kind of one of the things that a buddy of mine had read my book, and he lives in California. He comes back had been coming back every year. His wife sadly has passed. Mm-hmm. And he said, I read your book. I said, I really liked it. Is that how you did the other stuff too? I said, yeah. No complex marketing theory. The little things. It's all little things. Everything's little things. Anybody who doesn't, it's unless you're, Elon Musk or some Mark Zuckerberg or, come up with some life-changing, concept. And I don't know what Zuckerberg mess, but you know what I mean? Yeah, you get my point.
I wonder though, are they doing the little things in a grand way? that makes them with these
Sure,
revolutionary things?
I think that's a great observation. I would suggest, yes, in their world, those could be little things, you know, or they're real. What they call, what now this company now that I'm doing work with now is you would call an expander. So it's a company called Hupside. They're a startup, and they are now measuring your original intelligence, so your OIQ, and you can be labeled a focal, which is you're playing the notes that are on the page, right? You're an augmenter, that maybe you thrown in some fancy jazz chords. You're a connector, maybe you're the producer, the organizer, the guy on the floor, the production manager that's taking it, that right? Or you're the expander, and you're that Musk, you know, Zuckerberg, Jobs, that type of guy, you know. So it's it's an interesting deal when you're moving down that way. So,
you know, in my experience, and also I've read this in other negotiation leadership books and stuff like that, when you kind of take the blame, like a quick example, I bought a brand new car. There was a couple of things that were just not to my liking, some warping and stuff like that or whatever. And it was a pain to get it done. But every time I went in there, I mean, let me tell you, a couple of times, at the fourth time, I was so mad. But I was just like, my attitude was like, I know it really doesn't have nothing to do with me. But if I can go in there and I can take some type of responsibility, like, you know, I talked to the guy, I was like, hey, listen, I'm not sure what I must be miscommunicating something. I don't think I'm getting the point across. I'm not sure I'm explaining this correctly to you, but this is still happening. And that's a whole lot better outcome, even though but at this point, the guy was pretty mad at me because I kept bringing back for the same problem. But I could have easily gone there and I could have just lit up the dealership. I could have started throwing chairs. And maybe some people have been like, I can see why you were upset. You know, this is the fourth time for the same exact problem. It's a very simple thing in my mind to get done. But every time I went there, I tried to have that mindset of like, what I must be not communicating something correctly. I must be not presenting this the way I see it. And I just kept trying to figure out, like, what can I say differently? What can I show differently? And I just kind of, but I noticed when you do something, when you get on the phone with somebody, like, for whatever reason, I misentered my credit card payment. I don't understand how I did it. And then I didn't pay it all. I didn't pay it off. It was like a couple dollar problem. Well, I don't know what I was distracted doing. And I called the bank and I was like, I don't know what I did. I am so sorry. I've never done this, but I don't know how I didn't pay it all off. I know this is probably not something you guys are going to allow to do, but is there something you can do to help me out? I know this was my mistake. I did it. I don't know. They're like, you know what, sir, no problem. We'll take care of it for you. And I was like, dang, thanks. Thank you. And don't worry, we didn't report it to the credit report, something. Don't worry about it. We'll just take all the fees off. It's not a problem.
Nice. Be kind to everybody.
Right.
Pays off. Yeah. I mean, this is an old story, but I suppose we could go back and forth on these all day long, but this is how old it was. It was New York Air.
Oh, dang.
New York Air. I'm coming back from New York on New York Air. And there was a torrential downpour. Runways closed. And people, now it's a natural disaster. It's not their fault. You want to go up on that? Go ahead. Right. So the bottom line, simple cut to the chase on this one. People are wailing at these people. Wow. And I'm just sitting back. And I'm not going to say I'm the coolest customer on the planet. I'm not. All right. So I have my moments. But I waited and I said, and I knew it was useless because they can only do what they can do. And I just walked up and I just said, hey, you got any idea where I might be able to stay? She goes, yeah, here's a voucher. Thanks. So I went and stayed because it was some flea bag hotel in Queens. But anyways, so yeah, I think it works. I mean, I think the old adage, you get more with honey than vinegar and all that. I don't, but I think sometimes, it all depends who's on the other side too, right? I mean, you have that, you have that sense where you can get some play. I mean, these people, by the way, on the Medicaid deal, they were all nice. Mm-hmm. And I didn't take it out on them. I just said, do you guys ever tell anybody that it's 2025? Yeah. You're asking me to fax something. We don't have a fax on. We got to get in the car. We got to get down to Staples or UPS store or something like it. It was like, obviously it wasn't the end of the world, but, and then so when my son who can communicate, not clearly, but he said, I'm good for about 2 weeks, maybe 3. All right. So, but for this surgery, and I don't know how we came up with it. And it's not like it's oral surgery. He's got to have his wisdom teeth out at 34 years old. And so so I said to the woman, I said, okay, so what we need is to find someone within 2 to 3 weeks. So when should I? Okay, we're going to put you in for an out of network placement. Oh, okay, great. Can you tell me when I should check back? Yeah, in about 2 weeks.
So when I get it done.
do you want me to check back on the day that I need to have it done? So anyway, so you know they were all being nice, but then so it's but yeah. So I mean, I think that's a good thing to practice. I mean, you can probably practice it just about every day.
Oh yes,
in some form of fashion. Your coffee comes out, it's cold. Listen, it's not. Hey, dude, this coffee's cold.
Right.
How about, listen, I think this is a little cold. Can you maybe warm it up or maybe give me another one? Oh, yeah. Okay, no problem.
So, yeah, I find especially too in that service industry stuff, I think they're expecting the customer's always response is always aggressive, always at them. And when you come up with them saying, hey, I'm sure you're having a tough day, or, I don't want to be one of those guys. I must have not communicated this right. I wanted a hot coffee. I'm sure I didn't tell you how hot I liked it. That was on me. You're going to get a better response.
100%. I mean, and I've adopted this for years, obviously, and I'm going to say it doesn't always play in certain areas of my life. I have all the patience in the world for a customer, all of it. It's I can't remember having a crossword with a customer ever. I've been doing this for 40 years, and then 10 behind the bar, and so it would make me about 400. But anyways, But yeah, so it's just, you take that pause, you take a step back, you think it through, and you know what it does also? If maybe you did have a piece of the mistake, maybe you're going to be a little bit more cautious next time. So.
Is there any other core principle foundation from the bar days that still guides your leadership today?
Well, they're all. I mean, as you go through, matter of fact, I just wrote a sales pledge. I haven't got it committed to my memory yet, but okay. I literally wrote it like yesterday. I have it's going up as a blog post tomorrow. But yes, it's all there. It's all what I speak about in the book are all the little things that, like as an example, going to sound crazy. Importance of a proper greeting. Mm-hmm. You only get that one shot at the first impression. So how are you? What's your appearance look? How do you appear? What's your energy? Are you looking at somebody? Are you doing the old thing that your dad probably told you 400 years ago? Shake his hand or their hands, look him in the eye, ask him a question, wait for the response. Don't be trigger, getting ready to make the answer and come back at them. And so that's how you take it to the next level. And an example of that is like when you used to go to Home Depot, or when they first came around, and you walked in and there was a sea of orange aprons to help you. Now you can't find them. They're hiding. And if you do get somebody, I don't work in this area, let me go get that person. Blah, 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 blah. And so now, but if you go down to Ace Hardware downtown, guess what they're going to do? How you doing? What's going on? What's your project? What are you in for? And it's like, they may not have the, vast nature of the product set. I don't think you need it 9 times out of 10. Not a guy like me, who's not a DIY guy at all. So so the importance of a proper greeting, the importance of, the time management skills. What are your time management skills? Because these are old adages. There's nothing that I'm speaking of that you didn't, maybe there's one or two that you didn't hear from your parents 100 years ago. But 15 minutes early is on time. Mm-hmm. You shoot for it. I mean, nobody bats 1,000, but maybe you're 7 minutes early because something happened. You ever had a school bus or whatever it is, but you don't want to be my dog ate my homework every time you go in to see somebody. Oh, the kids and then others and then that. Okay, great. No, you get empathetic clients or whatnot. I'm sure nobody's going to throw you on the bus every time. But if it becomes habit, this is the key. If in your friend circle you start getting time named after you, oh boy, he's on Tyson time. You know him. Always 15. That's if he tells us if he's coming. Right?
Yeah.
You can hear it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know him. You know her. There's somebody.
I used to be that guy.
Oh, you were?
Yeah. I just like, okay, I got 10 minutes. I can do a lot of things right now. And then next thing you know, it's 15 minutes past when you thought you were going to leave.
Yep.
Yeah. I had to train myself because then I had friends who were like, well, we'll tell you we're going to meet at 4 so that you're there at 4:30 when we are all getting there. And I had to retrain myself. Like, I can't be this person, especially like you're saying in client, facing things or whatever. That's just not the reputation you want to have.
Hey, this guy, I'm sure you do too. Or, if we're all on LinkedIn and this social media stuff, and I think it certainly has its place, and I get it. But then there's this constant farming that goes on, right? And they're just fishing for someone just to engage. And I won't engage unless I see something creative. If it's the same old, I'm not doing it. This guy seemed to have a kind of a creative message. He was looking for a 15-minute warm-up call. And, I'm always open to that, especially if it involves some sort of networking or if they're going to give me some sort of information that would help my book sales or my speaking career or whatever, right? And that's kind of what I believe that's what it was about. And, he blew me off the other day. I mean, I was like, are you kidding me? We had back and forths on LinkedIn when we're going to get yada, yada, yada. It's like, and I scheduled it, and, you're scheduling these things out and then you put it aside because I'm a professional. I was on the phone with Medicaid. I'm sorry to keep bringing this up.
Sure.
I had to bounce off of that to go get on this guy's call.
No.
And he blew me off. And he is not, by the way, he's not atoned for it. I got his email. I said, did you just ghost me? And then I did it on LinkedIn too. I haven't heard from the guy. I won't mention his name, but it's like,
sure.
But it's that type of stuff that just, So you're not showing proper respect for people's time when your time is way more important than theirs. Something came up. Okay, great. Everybody understands something came up. Mm-hmm. That's for sure. So that, and then the next thing I bring up is the chapter is called The Most Organized Wins. It's like, now, by the way, just so you know, your little gig you've got going up here, you are tops of the trees in organization, my friend. I'm getting message because Lord knows I have, because if you don't get the link, because I won't put it into my schedule unless I get the link, because I'll get blown. I'll set it in and then I'll get blown off. When I could have been doing something else. But no, good updates on text and oh, by the way, I did finally read everything that was in your invitation, which I would have given you more had I read it. Okay. But that's but anyway, so I think that being organized, being prepared, it's all about being prepared, right? So you want to be prepared for your clients, and your pre-prep that you get kind of in the can, and then you might have custom prep for whatever call you're going to be going on or whatnot. And you don't want to be fumbling around with papers. And that's why if I can do flip charts where I can just take the paper and write on it and just take it through, if it's a small group, I'm using flip charts. I'm not setting up technology for 12 people. Right. Because it's like, okay, all technology doesn't match up, and I'm certainly no technical whiz. So it's so those are the types of things I try to avoid. But obviously, if you're in a bigger audience and you've got to go on a screen to give them, I do that. But yeah, so being organized, I mean that all those things relate back to the bar business. There was one place, again, back to this place, Tia's, that I worked at. They had set this place up for success. They were experienced bar owners in Boston, so they knew how busy it could be. And the new concept they felt was going to be even busier than what they had before. And they were right. I mean, it was crazy. You get in, I always worked the busiest station. You came in at 5 o'clock and did not stop moving like lightning speed till 1 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
On a Friday night. It was crazy. It wasn't clubbish. It was just like, it was a financial bar, finance bros. They didn't call them back that bad, but that's what they were. They didn't wear vests then. They were wearing 3-piece suits. This is 1982, 83. So, but they were all set up where everything you barely had to move. I can still tell you to this day, right here to the right is Smirnoff, Absolute, Stolichnaya. And then next level down was the Scotches, which was Dewar's, JB, and Cutty Sark. I mean, that is 40 years later. And so, because that's how ingrained you were. And then because back then, White Russians and Black Russians were big. Vodka was on the speed rack. If you know what a speed rack is, it's the rack that's right in front of the bartender. On the right-hand side was the vodka. Left-hand side was the Kahlua. So everything was right there. All the taps were right here. So, and because of that, we pushed out. Of course, the drinks were $2.40 back then. Now they're $12 or $14.
Yeah.
So, just an aside, it just dawned on me. One of the owners said, I think Duke was our best guy at that Station H. I said, okay. I said, yeah. The drinks were 10 times more expensive than when I was born. And of course he was. So, and then I remember being in a restaurant here in town, and it was built new out of a Pier 4, one of those Pier 4 imports. Turned it into this restaurant. I'm watching this girl work the bar, and she was pretty good, and she was quick, but she's moving back and forth and back and forth. And I said, "Can I ask you a question? Didn't they build this from scratch?" She goes, "Yeah." I said, "What are you doing running around like a nut?" She goes, "They didn't ask a bartender." So they didn't do the proper due diligence on their part. If you haven't worked a bar, you can't design one, And it's really not that, And so then this other guy in town, this guy's Press Cafe, and I talk about him in my book because you go into his little lunch place, lunch and breakfast is what they basically are. You can have dinner there, but lunch and breakfast, they're big too. You order a salad. If you want to change it, because they key it in, if you want to change it, they're going to have to go back and tell them, because that's how quick the information starts to get back there.
Wow.
So you're sitting out there and you're getting a fresh meal, never more than 5 minutes. There's nothing sitting there, but because in the back, all the stations where the cooks are no more than 3 steps in any direction. The guy's brilliant. Just a brilliant merchant. So, yeah. So that type of thing, what is your, I'm still big on appearance, attitude, aptitude. So your appearance, are you dressed for, today it's different. I get it, but you can never be overdressed, right?
Sure.
So, standard for me now, if it's a first call, I'm still in a suit and tie. And then, I'll measure it. And then chances are after that, it's a blazer, open collar, just a nice pair of slides, maybe even a good pair of jeans with a nice pair of shoes. But I'm not walking in with shorts and all that, I'm not, and I said, it's funny. I was just reminded of this, a guy that I worked for now about 30 years ago, but we're friends. We were friends before. We're friends. We just had dinner. And I saw him also in May. We were down in New Jersey. We went down and visited him in his apartment. He just bought this new town penthouse on the 18th floor in Hackensack, New Jersey. And I had 2 of my kids there saying, "You got to come down and meet Bill. It's priceless." Now it's Saturday morning of a wedding. I got cargo shorts on. I got a not a ratty, but a hoodie, with a t-shirt and a hat on. And doesn't he come out of the elevator in a crisp pair of jeans, great looking pair of shoes, perfect top, and a Scully cap? And I said, "Oh yeah, now I remember how this goes." Even I've got a friend. He will not be seen in public in a t-shirt.
Wow.
Nope. You can see him on CNBC and Fox Business all the time. His name's Art Hogan, and he actually sent me a picture. He goes, I gave him a Bar Tips t-shirt. So we put it on and took a picture. And it sent it back to me 2 years later. He goes, "This is the last time I had a T-shirt on in public." And it was he went right out of it too. He's very uncomfortable with it. Always got a pair of loafers on. He's very, very preppy. But, and then, so that goes, so what's your appearance? What's your attitude? I mean, he's showing up with a good attitude. Are you positive? And we talk a lot about positivity in our program, our positive activity program. And also then finally, are you upgrading your skills, your aptitude? Are you always learning? You're learning something new. You're coming up with a new concept or an idea. You're being creative. And so those are the types of things that we can keep going on. I'll give you one. I think this is a great one, and it relates. So again, how it relates to the bar business is, or the hospitality business. When you come outside of the hotel and you're looking for something, and you got the doorman there. And you go, "Hey, by the way, where can I get a good burger?" Oh, hands down, that's Billy's around the corner. And guess what? Beers are only $5. Right. Boom. Peripheral knowledge. What do you know outside of your little sphere? How can you help your clients in other ways? And I'm not talking about know a guys, right? Knowing a guy is that borders on beer plans. I'll tell you what beer plans are.
Okay.
So know a guy is when I know a guy. Okay. If you don't follow up with a connection via email or some formal way where you connect them, you are beer planning them. Now, beer plans, you know what beer plans are?
No, sir.
Beer plans are the ones you make after 3 beers at about 11 o'clock at night. Tyson, so good to see you. We need to get together. I'll call you. What are you in town? Oh, I'm here. And then they never do.
Right. Okay. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So that, by the way, that could be the same guy that it's got the time named after him. So could
Could definitely be.
So that's a Noah. So the beer plans, like all these things started coming up after I wrote this darn thing, but they just come up and they're all blog posts on positive activity. Done.
I'll link to everything for you guys in there. The sales, when you're just coming out, this would be out. That should be out. I'll link to all that. You guys easily jump in and read all about all this for him.
So beer plans, again, so we were, the little ditty I've got going with this is, so I went to a sales meeting last September. Oh, it's almost a year. And met a new guy, nice young guy, just getting started in the business. Where our primary business is the promotional swag business. That's what we do night and day. And so Taylor was the kid's name. So the last night is this event, the event, the awards banquet, all that stuff, the dinner. It's at the Harley Davidson Museum. So what they asked you to do was, hey, wear something bikey-ish. Well, Neil don't have anything bikey-ish. And I'm not, I had a black T-shirt with me. That was about as far as I was going to go. But as I'm walking out of our trade show that day, a guy had this, I don't know if a dye sublimated process for your listeners is where the logo is in the garment. It's dyed into the material. Okay. So it's not screen printed on or embroidered on or pressed on. It is in the material. Right?
Like, is it woven into that?
No, it's just dyed in. Dye sublimation.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyways, cool jacket, right? So I get to the event, yada, hanging out with an old buddy of mine. Kid comes up to me, hey, Neil, that jacket is awesome. I looked at him and said, Taylor, I will never wear this again. He goes, can I have it? I said, you sure can. So night goes on. His night probably lasted a lot longer than mine at this stage of my game. And next day is the final breakfast. So I bring him to the final breakfast. He's sitting by himself. I walked over, had it behind my back. I said, hey, Taylor, how you doing, man? It's great. How you doing? Oh, great. What a meeting, huh? Great speakers, a lot of good content. Learned a lot, didn't you? He says, yeah. I said, I'm going to give you your best lesson all week. I threw the jacket on the table. I pointed to him and I said, never, always do what you say you're going to do. And I walked away. So that's the beer plan story. And I think it's ingrained in his head. So you tell somebody, and that little gem comes back from me when I used to talk to Bill, the guy I was telling you about earlier with the Scully cap on and all these little things. Everybody, you can pick up little gems along the way in your life. Not everything is this, incredible aha moment. But I remember him telling me years ago when I wound up working in the sporting goods business with these guys. It was athletic footwear and apparel. And I was working with someone else. But Bill would call me and give me all sorts of information. One of the things he says was, if you tell somebody you're going to send them a poster, send them the poster. And it just like hit me. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Why wouldn't I? So most people don't. It's like, I subscribe to the 7-touch theory in sales, which is it's going to take you 7 significant touches in order to get somebody's attention. That's why when I mentioned it earlier, when these people, they try to reach out to me and there's no creativity, it's like 100 years ago when people used, this guy told me when they were hiring salespeople, they took all of the resumes that were on white paper and threw them out. Didn't even read them. Anything that was off color or something a little different, those are the ones that they read. So, yeah. So it's that's the drill on that one.
So what I kind of gather from all the whole story was you can be top 10, top 1%, just doing these things nobody's doing anymore. Nobody's dressing well. Nobody's greeting you. Nobody's being polite. Nobody's following up properly. Nobody's sending you what they said they're going to send you. Just doing those things you're talking about are such low-hanging fruits. I would easily think you could become top just by doing those things.
Jim Rohn.
Yes.
You're familiar with Jim, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
So Jim Rohn says success is neither magical nor mysterious. Success is the natural consequence of consistently applying the basic fundamentals. Also known as, everybody, the little things.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, think about today when you meet a 28-year-old guy, gal, whatever, and they shake your hand, look you square in the eye, and ask you a question and listen. You go. So they're not seeing this in my head. I'm taking a step back on, oh, ding, 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 ding. We have a winner here, everybody.
Correct.
Right. And so, yes, it's so rare you see that, so, and that's one of the audiences that we're trying to get to in our stuff, and, with bar tips and also positive activity are those young people. I have for no pay, for friends, their kids, they can't reach them, they're floundering and whatnot. As long as they read the first couple of chapters of my book, because they saw how I struggled a little bit, I'm happy to talk to them. And I failed on one, but that was because I didn't know about his drug use, and also I can't help you there. I said, you're going to have to listen to your counselors. If you still think you should be in the bar business, you're not listening to your counselors. Right. So, yeah. So, I mean, it's none of it. I always say right now, but one of the things I always say, you are now talking to probably the only person that flunked out of 2 community colleges. So it's just, how do you respond? How do you, I've got one going on right now. I'm 66 years old. I'll be 67 years old. I have no desire to slow down. And I've got one going right now. I'm working with like 20 offices. There's 864. I've got 10, I've been introduced to 10 more regional managers, and all I've got is emails, and nobody's responding.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, what am I doing? How do I do this? So very easily, I've got someone that dials for me. So we're gonna circle the wagons, and we're gonna call all the offices in that area, and we're gonna kill them with kindness, and we're gonna start sending them things, and they're gonna open up the new program, new campaign that we helped develop for this one group that's going great. It's a recruiting firm, but I'm gonna show them that I'm interested in their business. And that even though, each individual office is not a big deal, but in aggregate, it can be a very big deal. And I've got somebody that can manage it for me. So once I get it, I certainly will keep in with the client. But I'm going to use, here's another one for you. I'm going to be tenacious, not just persistent, right? So persistent sounds like pests for a reason. I could keep sending these guys email. I'm going to go, oh, boy, this guy, let's get rid of him. Or what are we doing with this guy? Or what, or they're just going to keep ignoring him. Like we all can ignore emails. But when I start doing creative things and showing them that I'm really interested and I've come up with these, new concepts, and everything I send them is all sales related. It's all like, I just sent them all bags in my logo with various promotional items in it with our logo on it. And the whole point was make sure you're taking your marketing materials with you. They're no good to you in the closet. You don't stockpile your Post-it notes because you don't want to. Just hand them out like they're water. Take pens, take 50-cent pens to the restaurant you go to and make sure you leave 2 of them with the waitress. And I'm looking at I'm over here on my bookcase here. I'm staring at a guerrilla marketing book. It's all guerrilla marketing. All guerrilla marketing concepts. Now you can take them to the next level with digital and whatnot, but yeah, it's where hit them where they are, hit them where they ain't. So.
I've been noticing mailings making a comeback now.
Never left.
Well, right. Yes.
Sorry, I jumped in on you that one. I kind of jumped on you, but it was you got a big one there. Yeah.
I've been seeing more prominent people mailing things. I should say that were maybe just pure digital. I think, in fact, some of the things I'm thinking about now, I think they were just a pure digital thing. Now I'm seeing mails come. And like you're saying, right? I mean, what's the average inbox? 7,000, 8,000 emails? Versus my mailbox. What do I have? 10 things in there, maybe? If yours is in there, now you're 11. I'm going to at least look at it before I throw it in recycling.
You add a little, see what I have here. So if you add a little dimension to it, you know what the open rate is?
No.
100%. 100%.
There you go.
So if you take, hold on.
Please go ahead.
When I send a book, make sure I get a, oh, there we go. So what happens is the book comes in this. Mm-hmm. If I've got a sticker, I put it on the outside. Typically, we have all our marketing stuff done at another place. But they get in the book, they get in a positive activity bracelet, and a pen, and it's going to have dimension to it. That baby's going to get open. I'm going to surprise and delight them with this. And then if it's someone I'm sending the book to gratis, you're going to get that too. And then that also is my calling card. Oh, well, this guy really knows what he's talking about. Let's hope. Right.
Right.
So the open rate, yeah, we have been huge. That's when you're talking about those 7 touches, those have got to be in there in our view. Now you have to have the budget to do that. Right. So, if you're selling, $2 widgets, unless they're going to buy 10,000 of them. But if you're going to buy one of them, you're not going to send them a $10 package. Right. But if one project I worked on was for this Hitachi Consulting. They took 100 of their hard to get intos, and they were given. So these are all telemarketers. They were appointment setters, and we mailed. They each got 10, and we mailed 7 touch campaign. They get 10 appointments.
Wow.
It's like staggering because somebody did something different.
Mm-hmm.
And we do this stuff all the time, but again, so here I am, I'm stuck right now with these 10 guys, I think it's about 10 people. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm offering them stuff. I'm trying to get the subject line right, all that crap. It's like, but I don't, and I just stopped doing it a long time ago if I just had their addresses. So I'm going to find their addresses, and they're going to be in their offices and
there are ways
professional, and it's, and so, they're going to get a promo kit. They're going to get booked, and it's going to come staggered. It's not going to all come at once. But this next thing I'm doing right now, the whole concept of the campaign is called, again, they're recruiters, and it's the hire alarm. So we took fire alarm and we took fire out and we placed it with hire. You don't need anybody now, but you're gonna. And when you do, pull the hire alarm. Cutesy, gag a little bit if you want, don't care, right? They're gonna go, interesting, different. You know what the next thing I'm sending them? Pop socket. You know what a pop socket is? Goes on the back of your phone. Guess what you have to do with it? Pull it.
Pull your fire alarm.
So
there you go. But those are memorable words, right? They get in our head and get in our thing. When you're like, we got to hire. We need a hire alarm. Oh, we got to fire. Oh, crap. That guy,
Yeah. Some guy, I remember it worked in one location. They called like day later, pulling the hire alarm. I need 20 people by Tuesday.
Wow.
By the way, let me remind everybody, blank sides.
Oh, nice. So you can handwrite something in there.
Always blank sides. So you write a personal note.
Mm-hmm. I've heard people, do some research on these guys, and like we're saying, you got to have a little bit of a margin there to do these things. But I know a guy, he was saying he was trying to get something like this, a CEO of a company, and he starts, following him online, looking at stuff. He's like, this guy's a big runner. So he sends him like the most killer running shoes he could. He another client's talking about, he's like, I knew he was into this thing. I sent him a year subscription to this magazine with our name on it to him. And I forget the other stories, but stuff like that, where you get a box of shoes in your office. You're like, send me sneakers. You're not going to not open that.
Right. You could get shut out.
Sure.
But you know what? That, still the law of averages, you got to get never up, never in.
Mm-hmm.
But most people, now this is all conventional wisdom. I've never really seen this carved in stone, but nobody ever disagrees with it. Most salespeople are gone after the second touch. All the business is done after the fifth.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why I even at this stage of my game, I'm going, I'm not going down, Ray. I'm going to figure this out. So it's because they're all like small offices, and because I'm akin to what they've done. I've been a small office. We got a small company, and I've been doing it for 40 years. As either as a manufacturer's rep or in this promotional business we've had for almost 30 years. It's a pretty good success in this world, in this lane. So
right, interesting. Yeah, it keeps running through my head is the little things, and like I said earlier, these are the little things now that were just nothing, just mannerisms maybe before, are now the things that are making you stand out.
Sure. Yeah.
I know you spend a lot of time in the hospitality business, and maybe a lot around that, and plus even ancillary things. What are some things that the hospitality world is doing that the typical non-hospitality business isn't doing, but maybe they should be doing?
It's interesting. A lot of the hospitality businesses aren't doing it either. I mean, I've seen. I've got a friend, again, another friend that we get a little friend group from. I was a commuter student, so I don't have any fraternity brothers. My fraternity brothers are people that I tended bar with, or we're in the restaurant business with, and we're still friends to this time. He goes out with his wife now and again, although he's had a run of bad health, although he was a killer runner. And he was world-class, top-notch marathon. He was 230, sub 230. And he'll go out and, he'll start moaning and groaning about what they're doing. And his wife will turn to him and say, "Hey, Tom, take the night off." So that's what happens. You look around, it's like, and I get kind of offended with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I just, you got a great little gig here, whether it's part-time, full-time, I'm not so sure. I never wanted to be a full-time guy. I go back and pour beer and pour drinks now. I'd love to work functions just for fun, just to talk to people.
Right.
So anyways, but yeah, so and it's the same way when I don't get served properly in a professional environment. So it really, I can't, I want to keep going back to, do you feel like you're do they have a process of how to take you through, the question, the 15-minute Q&A and asking proper questions. The fine line between asking too many questions, right? Because they want to know some stuff about you. So it's the old, have you ever heard of the upfront contract?
No, sir.
All right. You people are going to love this one. So if they've never taken Sandler sales, I did for a bit. This was the only thing I got out of Sandler sales. The rest of it was stuff like, how to trick them to get them on the phone and all that stuff. Say, oh, great. Let's start our relationship disingenuously. That's a good idea.
Okay.
And it was the upfront contract goes something like this. Hey man, what do we got here today? How much time did you set aside? Oh, we got 15 minutes. Great. So I'd like to hear a little bit about me, but I want to hear a lot about you. So I'm going to ask you some questions. Okay. And then what's going to happen after that, I think, is going to be that I'm going to see if I can help you. I'll give you a couple of concepts of how that might work, but we'll wrap it up in 15 minutes. How does that sound to you? That's the upfront contract. Okay. Now I've done that 400 different ways. That was the 400th and one, so it's, so setting the parameters and whatnot. So I feel like we're getting somewhere. Okay. All right. Now, I see what you got now. All right. So what you're going to need is you're going to need 2 vanities, 2 sinks, this lighting, and as a basic fundamental. Now you're going to have to pick out all that stuff up. And that's what we're going to take you through and show you the price ranges, the good, the better, and the best. And so that's how we're going to determine what the overall cost is going to be. How does that sound, Mrs. Jones? Right? Keeps going, right? Mm-hmm. So it's so nobody threatened. What's the price tag going to be on this? Now, can I give you a ballpark on good? Sure. It's going to be $25,000. Mm-hmm. Right. And you know enough about your business, enough about the competition that you're in that comfort zone. Mm-hmm. So if that's what they want to hear, okay. I prefer, Joan, can I spend 15 minutes on this tonight and just lay out some things and maybe send you back a couple of concepts before I just throw out a price? And then at least you'll have something to compare. Sure, that'd be great. Who's saying no to any of that?
Right. And you're not constantly sitting there waiting, like, okay, I'm waiting for the ball to drop. I'm waiting for the thing.
Right.
I think that when I'm thinking about if that was done to me, even just listening to you talk, and it's not even to me, but I'm just like, I feel more relaxed. Like, okay, we laid out a plan. You're going to honor your word. Okay, let's go. Yeah.
Yeah, managing expectations from the jump. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't that sound like it's going to, if I do that with you now, doesn't that going to sound like that's how I'm going to operate with you for the rest of the time we're together?
Absolutely. I didn't even think about that aspect, right? He's going to follow up. He's going to do what he says because he's already established. He gave me, this is what we're going to do. He did it. I can continue to expect that from him until he break my trust.
And if you want to go back to the other stuff, if you showed up on time, if you were well presented, if you had a logoed shirt with your logo, with your company on it, if you were, you had all your materials, you left him a little leave behind. Here's a little Bill Evans pen for you, plumbing pen, whatever. It's they're 50 cents. You can get a decent pen for 70 cents. Mm-hmm. This thing right here, this is a killer pen. The one I just have in my hand.
The orange one.
This one right here. It's killer. You get them for 70 cents with that big big logo. So you get your logo, you get your by the way, I'm not pitching these folks, but if you want to need them, we got them. But it's just an example of the way if you think about these things and don't make them an afterthought. Because so many times we're the afterthought. Okay. If we had talked about this earlier, if we took our 15 minutes, this could have looked a lot different. And oh, by the way, guess what? You wouldn't have done it last minute and paying overnight shipping.
Right.
Trying to help you.
Yeah, it's tough when your emergency is not my problem, but sometimes it is.
Exactly. So
these are great. I mean, this is the beauty of being in a business for so long. Is there if you were to do your own sales training, I'm not sure if you do or not, but if you were maybe to start something from scratch or whatever, what do you think is missing from the curriculum today? What are sales trainers out there not teaching people you think they should be teaching people? That's a big question.
So I don't know all the sales trainers. I go right over here is Dale. I got Think and Grow Rich.
Okay.
I've got classics. I've got the Happiness Advantage. I've got I got Well Done. I've got some other sales books, but those are the ones that I kind of traded with other people. I want it to be simple, right? So I mean, you have to have whatever your process is, have a process, right? So our process, what we do is we take people through in Positive Activity, which is our program that we would train a salesperson on. We want to get their mindset right, number one, right? We want them in a place of positivity, because if you get them there, and by the way, everybody out there, you can control most of your own happiness, and it ain't the car or the house
or the watch or whatever.
Whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so, which you control that too, but it's not, you're not going to get happy when you have the house. You're not going to get happy. You need to be happy along the way. And those things can be done by simple things like, and this is a lot of people doing this. A lot of people talking about this these days, where you have practices in the morning to get your mindset right. Mine are that Sky.
The journal.
Yeah. So in here, this morning, I write 3 things down in the last. Well, I took the whole weekend because I didn't journal this weekend. That made my weekend. Cool party at the White Horse Beach Association. Good decision to come home because my situation with my son, Lori, my wife, felt comfortable here. I said, well, I didn't want to leave her alone. I came home. And then we had a great time. We went out to dinner, and we actually, just kind of casual and whatnot. Some music was playing. It was great. Great night. And then what I do is I take one of those, typically I do, and trying to recall it and really bring back that feeling I had as I was doing it. And I just said it was the right decision to come home, help Lori make the decision on Craig's care. Always better together.
Beautiful.
Oh no, how am I not happy about that? Right?
Yeah.
Me and my wife happy. I felt better about doing it. I'm comfortable with what we're doing with our son now. And then I take time to meditate. And folks, meditate can be listening to your breath for 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be. I'm transcendental meditation trained, which is 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night. But I don't always do TM. I did NSDR this morning. NSDR is a non-sleep deep rest that I did because I was trying to get back to sleep a little bit too, to finish off the night. My movement was to be bike at noon, but I'm hoping it's Pilates at 4:30. But we can keep rolling. And then I usually have, sometimes it's a TBD, I put together some sort of conscious act of kindness.
Oh, beautiful.
So as an example, Friday? One morning in the last 4, I forget what it was. I was in a coffee shop and just, thinking through all this stuff that's going through my head with my son and my daughter and my other kids. And they're all older and all doing great. But this woman in front of me, and she was, she's got the kid going and, she's ordering all this stuff and whatnot. She goes to pay and her card bounces.
Oh.
She said, oh, I forgot this was fraudulent. I got fraud. And she went to walk away. I said, don't worry, I got it. It's $14. Am I ever going to be $14 away from retirement? Well, I'm not considering retirement anyway, so I don't even want to, when that is going to be relevant. But yeah, so, and that's in my book this morning. So, and then I put things like, so, and that may be something you can recall that you did. And by the way, that could be a simple text to someone that you just feel might be down, or maybe not even down. Hey, just thinking of you this morning. Who doesn't like to hear from somebody that they're friendly with just out of the blue? Hey, good to hear from you. Have a great day. Done. Then I write I am statements. And this kind of came from, the first bit of this came from Sean Achor and the Happiness Advantage, which I would, if people out there are going to read the book, which I suggest you should. Did I say should? I don't do shoulds. I suggest you might try it. At least watch his 12-minute TED Talk on YouTube.
I'll link that.
Amazing. He gets it all in 12 minutes. Wow. And then this came from, my wife kind of got into Joel Osteen speaking after a while. He wrote a whole book on I am statements. So I write, I am a mentor. Because when I go to speak, when I speak on this, I don't like the coach word. I don't know. I mean, coaches tell you what to do. That's why they suggest. When I said should, I pulled it back. Mentors suggest. There may be a lot more Socratic method being played as a mentor, where you're collaborating with someone that needs your support. Have you ever thought about it this way? Maybe if you tried doing it, maybe you considered that. Not like, listen, dude, if you do not do this, it's like, so mentor is what I do. I am a speaker, right? Because that's one of my big aims, to play this thing out, sharing as I'm sharing today. I'm a musician. I play the piano and sing. And I've focused on that vocal for about 5 years and the piano for the last 2. And I've kind of been involved with it some way, shape, or form in my life. But I like the gains I've made in the last 5 years are staggering compared to the previous, 50. Like, because I focused on it and I did it. I am a writer, right? I wrote a book. Yes. I am positive, creative, and productive. That is, I can give you the whole positive activity ditty. But the positive activity ditty goes, get your mindset in a place of positivity, which leads you to open-minded, divergent thinking, solution-providing creativity. And that can lead to incredible productivity. So if you're in creative mode, you're seeing nothing but solutions. You're not all lathered up and whatnot. You're creative. You go, okay, so I can see my way through this. And then you put together your productivity steps, whatever those are. When I first performed piano and sang on stage, I put together a 90-day plan. I did scales. I did exercises. I did vocal exercises. I did various chord progressions. And then I sang this. Then I played and sang the songs. 90 days later, there I was in front of 200 people playing and singing.
Beautiful.
And then the final one I would tell you about. So then I encourage myself. I am enough. I have enough. Right. And then I reiterate. Have you heard of the 4 Agreements?
Oh, I love that book. Yes.
Okay. So I rewrite them here. I will be impeccable with my word. I won't take things personal. I won't make assumptions, and I will always do my best. And that's how I kick off the day before I open up the inbox. You know what that? Yeah, how long that takes?
10 minutes, 15, maybe.
Maybe depends on your prowess with meditation. Sure. But if you do 5 minutes of meditation, the rest of it would be 5 minutes.
Right.
So if you do 10, you do 20, then you just might expand it. And then I need to say, I plan to move every day, and that's critical too. So
the I am, from what it sounded like you were saying, I kind of want to just clarify for people, is you were saying some things that are aspirational and some things you already are. Is that correct?
Yes, I want to say because I'm always trying to be a mentor. I'm always trying to be a musician. I'm always trying to be a speaker. So I am work in progress on all of it.
Okay. I
am positive, creative, but you know what? I don't want anybody off the hook out there, but nobody bats 1,000.
Correct.
If that's why we call it. So I don't know if I gave this part of it, but positive activity is the practice, because we're also yoga people, Lori and I. It's a practice. Nothing's perfect. Just don't. If you don't like, look, I'm not bummed I didn't journal all weekend. I just started again today. Or yesterday. Where are we? Tuesday? Is this Tuesday? Whatever, wherever we are. Yeah.
It was a long weekend.
Yeah. So yeah, and then it's and then you're off to the races. Now you just, what am I doing today? How am I organized? What's my day look like? What do I have?
So when I was reading about your principles for positive activity, sorry about the speaking, there were 6 of them I saw that you had on your website. Is there one of those that trips people up the most?
Are you talking about when we get to the business development portion of this?
I was reading, it was the guiding principles of positive activity that I saw. There were 6 of those.
So that's the business development part of it. So yeah, okay. I mean, it's all again about doing it. So it's, do you understand what business you're in? Do you understand who can buy what you sell? Because we certainly don't want to be going down bad paths trying to sell something to somebody that can't buy it. Right. Who's the right contact, as an example? Then now that you know who they are, how are you building your list? Who are the people you know? Who are the people you meet? Who are the people who are the people you buy? The least of which you want, right? You don't want to be sending out spray and pray stuff. I mean, it's easy on digital, and that's what they're doing on LinkedIn all day, every day.
And AI now too just helps accelerate that.
Yeah, and we're just going to get inundated even more. So it's going to have to. So your original your OIQ, when we talked about that, your OIQ is going to have to go up because everybody's going to be doing it. Everybody's got some way to like do the AI thing and whatnot. And it's going to become obnoxious to people. And it's obnoxious to me now, you know, and again, it's like I said earlier, if you don't do something creative, I'm not picking up the phone or anything. And then do you have campaigns, 7-touch campaigns set up for each of those groups? And can you tell me, the other thing is, the whole thing about, what's your 20-second commercial? What can you tell somebody in 20 seconds? The whole elevator pitch routine. Hackneyed, yes. Purposeful, absolutely. What is it you do anyways? Well, I do this. Oh, it's interesting. And then, by the way, just because they say it's interesting and they give you a business card doesn't mean they're sitting at their desk waiting for you to call. So you have to put them in queue in your campaigns.
Goes back to that beer thing again, or the beer plans.
Exactly. Never make beer plans.
Yeah, that's great. Right. Yeah, it's great.
I'll send you a book. I look at people now. I say, oh, by the way, if you give me your address, to people, I said, because my nephew said to me the other day, he goes, because I gave a book to the father of the bride at this wedding, because I had one in my briefcase and he was sitting in the kitchen we were staying at, and I put it on my nephew goes, oh, I've never got one of those. I said, you give me your address, I will send one to you, and I will send it to you, but you got to send me your address. Let's see who wins.
Such a simple thing. He's just text you real quick. Here's my address, and you get a free book
right on the spot.
40 years of knowledge and hundreds, millions maybe of dollars of knowledge for free.
Yep.
One of the things on that list, the 6 things that were there, was number 3, is that you said work is best done in a state of flow in which one is fully engaged by the task and there is no sense of time passing. How do we get to that stage?
That's when you're on the roll. When you do all those things, now your productivity pieces, if you're set up right and you do these things every day, and I always say 90 days, right? You might change interchangeable parts, take things out, change things up a little bit. You go 90 days, it's going to feel effortless, because what's going to happen is you're going to start to get momentum. People are going to respond to you. You're not just going to get ghosted all the time, but there has to be some sort of volume to it. You got to pick days. When am I sending things out? Who am I going to follow? Where am I going to go to speak? What counter am I going to sit at? What chamber event am I going to go to? You're always going to find somebody to send something to. And if it's not them, maybe they've got somebody else. So that's when it's just like, then you're doing work, but in 90 days, I've seen it happen. I've done it myself many times. In 90 days, you look back, you won't believe where you came from.
Absolutely. You also talk about rational optimism. Could you break that down for us real quick?
Sure. We all know things can be bad out there. We choose not to address them. Right? They don't play in our world. We know this thing. There's tough things out there. And matter of fact, I was telling you about my buddy Art Hogan. He's right over there in a picture. And what we would do during and I won't say the word that almost drove us all crazy. I'd be driving down to my place in Plymouth, Massachusetts. I live in New Hampshire primarily, and drive down there. And he lives near there. And I'd call him every Thursday on the way down. I'd just say, Artie, tell me something good, because he's always in the market and hearing things, And he said, well, I think we're going to be able to have a burger and a beer together by July. Beautiful. And then that would hold hope. So it was just, let's see if I can read it from here. You don't have to think everything is great all the time to be an optimist. Certainly I don't. But I believe that humanity's ability to solve problems increases over time. That's the kind of optimism that guides my life. That's rational optimism. We know that things bad out there, that there could be bumps in the road. Like, I don't care. I have my political views. I don't care who's in the office. I just keep going. Just keep going. It's like, maybe you have to make an adjustment because one thing's going one way or one thing's going another. But by and large, it's business as usual. So we don't have to get involved with that. As far as we're keeping ourselves healthy and watching what we're eating and, doing these types of practices, pretty good shot at being a pretty healthy person. I'm a pretty healthy guy. Just rode 90 miles from Plymouth to Provincetown for a cycle against suicide, because he didn't feel as though he was not a rational optimist. Oh, my old buddy, Bob. So God bless you, Bob. But so that's rational optimism. It's knowing that things are out there but not avoiding them, but you don't have to address them every day. You have to go into the weeds on the way they go into the weeds on every issue and everything now, and has been that way for 20 years. This is going to be the end of the world. No. This is going to be the end of the world. How about this? How about we have these things. Hold on. Sorry to keep.
Sure. Yes, sir.
These babies go into our now this is backwards.
Things are always working out for me.
Things are always working out for me. That goes in the dashboard of our cars. Lori's got one, I've got one. We hand them out at our events. And just have that positive attitude. It's going to work out. Keep working. Stay in creative mode. Be in solution mode, right?
Mm-hmm. So. I know you were saying to stay away from the negative. I agree with this. Is there a bit of you just need a healthy level of skepticism? Is that something? Like, how do you think about that?
I don't. I think heading into it in that fashion. I mean, we have our biases. We've got our cynicism. We've had life experience, right? But I think if you're going looking for, I'll just have a little skepticism here. I'm going to be the devil's advocate. Please don't ever tell me that. I don't want the devil's advocate at all. I don't think that's the healthy way to approach it. If you've done your homework, if you've done your, again, I'm talking about sales in this point. If you're going in and you've vetted the customer, they can buy what you sell, yet it's just not working, move on. Mm-hmm. You can't sell everybody. Nobody bats 1,000.
I agree with that. And I think we are also wired for the negative. So getting stuck there, I guess my thought was, make sure you got some water on hand for emergencies and maybe things along those lines. That's kind of what I was thinking. I wasn't necessarily.
Sure. I mean, anything like that
is good and stuff. Yeah. Okay.
No, sure. I think I should always be prepped. That's part of your preparation.
Right.
I always have a bottle of water with you. It's tea right now, but there's water waiting for me for the workout.
So we have Rogers Marketing, which is mainly branded products and stuff. We talked a lot about those. If you guys are interested, I'll link this in the thing. We have Positive Activity, which just seems like we spend a lot of your time right now, if I'm not mistaken. There's some amazing free downloads and tools there. I'll link these things for you guys there as well as ways to get in touch and whatnot. I have the book I'll link to. Is there anything else you want to speak of that we want to maybe point people to or anything like that?
Always be promoting. The old always be closing. I always say always be promoting.
Sure.
Then you'll close.
Perfect. And then on the Social Community Show, I like to do a weekly challenge for our listeners. It could be something we talked about here today, or maybe something we didn't at all. What I would like you, Neil, is I'd like you to issue this week's challenge.
Go to a counter, a bar if you like a beer or a cocktail. Speak to somebody you don't know. If they're engageable, don't interrupt them. Ask them a question. Shut your mouth. Listen. Actively listen. Nod your head. Look at them as they're talking. Practice your active listening skills.
We need a lot more of that. Thank you. That's a great challenge. And then the last question I'd like to ask you is, and this doesn't have to be a grandiose thing. I want it to be however you think about it. What does living a legendary life mean to you?
Successful happiness, successful and happy and healthy family. Full stop.
And that's a legendary life. Thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge. I have an entire page of notes. I appreciate everything. I'll link to all the things we talked about as much as I can in the show notes for you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing things. I hope things go better with your son. It's a horrible story, but it sounds like you got it under control, and
we'll be all right.
All the best with all that.
Thank you very much.
What a great episode. Like I said, I do have a absolute page of notes here. Such great nuggets of wisdom. This is what you get when you're in an industry for this long. You're proficient. You can feel the passion. You can hear the wisdom and the passion there. He has this. It feels like an innate ability to teach and to share, and just going on and on and on. Find these things. Do the little things. You heard how many little things we talked about? Just this little practice. Even if it's just practicing one of these a week, a month, you start shaking people's hands. You dress a little better. Whatever it is that you found that you could do, being on time. Like I said about me, I was the guy that was easily 10, 15 minutes late everywhere. I was late to work. I was late to meeting people all the time. I changed that. Now I'm the guy, nobody ever says Tyson's going to be late, because I knew that something had to change. And I took my time and I put in the reps and I changed and I made that happen. Okay. These are little things. You can be the top 10%. Just probably picking up 3 of these, 5. Go out there, guys. Get this stuff done. You're going to change your life, your family's life. You're going to change your perspective. And like Neil was saying, in 90 days, you are not going to recognize yourself. And I can be a testament to that for myself, with people I've worked with. And Neil has said the same thing. This is a common story. It's out there. Just putting in the work, right? Like we talked about, extreme ownership, taking accountability for that, right? Discipline equals freedom, owning what you're doing. Even if it's not your fault, that's the hardest part. When it's not truly your fault, at least you believe it. Somewhere, somehow, how can you make it in your world? How can you take ownership of it? How can you learn? How can you be better? And one thing you can do, because there's no paywall, there's no premium plus social community show to subscribe to. We give you everything up front. And the only thing we ask, if you found value from this episode, share it with at least 2 other people. You can connect with us on all the socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, your favorite podcast player, YouTube, and all those different things where you love to listen to your podcast. For past episodes and links to everything we've talked about here today, you can head over to the socialchameleon.show. Until next time, keep learning, growing, and transforming on your path to becoming legendary.